You are now listening to the Bullseye Podcast, brought to you by AFI Advisors. Sit back, get comfy, and keep all arms and legs inside the vehicle when in motion. And now, here is Josh, Peter, and Brian.
What's the name of that spaceship?
Artemis.
Artemis Prime.
Artemis 2.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Bullseye Podcast, brought to you by AFI Advisors. I am Josh Shores. I'm here with Brian Brummett, Peter Raber. There's a lot going on in the world. We've got a spaceship out there. We've got March Madness. We've got all kinds of things happening. It's tax season. So you guys probably feel about how you look right now.
We're in the home stretch.
I tried to clean up before this, but
I tell you, Brian's, and it's so odd because you had, you were on vacation last week, but man, you were looking pretty rough yesterday. No offense. You looked defeated yesterday.
Monday after vacation in the middle of tax season. That was a reality check for sure.
His hair's all down in his face. He's like emo Brian.
Well, Josh comes in and he goes, "Hey, emo Brian's here. Am I allowed to come talk to you? Are you too moody today?" And I was like, I ran out of hair gel, dude. I'm sorry.
Vacation and tax season's always tough. It's always spring break, so I'm always lose a week during tax season. It's always a hard comeback to the reality and how many things come in, because you can't control how many tax returns come in that week that you're gone.
Right.
So I know I had, I think 6 land on my desk that came in that week that I was gone, and then you're trying to get things back out quickly, and yeah.
Let's do our due diligence. When's the last day of tax season?
April 15th. Is that next Wednesday?
Yeah, sounds right.
April 15th.
It is April 15th. There's no extension this year. There's no, there wasn't a natural disaster which gave you 3 more months or anything like that. So
this is the first time in a while we've had a April 15th due date.
So there's no extensions.
No extensions. Now you can extend your personal one on your own if you want to, like you've always been able to, but there's no natural one that's put in for everybody.
And it doesn't fall on a weekend, so you don't get like that April 17th type thing or anything like that.
Get your taxes done. I want to talk about March Madness because I did terrible this year. Actually, I finished at the bottom of our office bracket, which is embarrassing. The only person I beat was Robert, but he didn't even fill one out, so that's the only reason I beat him.
I won. That's all right.
Well, the fun thing was
Peter won again.
We took Peter off. Like we were like, he's losing. Yeah, we didn't even count you in at the end.
I picked Florida to win it. So when they went down early, my bracket sunk, and then I managed to have 3 of the Final 4 teams, which kept me in it. And then everybody else just kind of slowly fell away. And
it was the least impressive group of brackets I've seen us have.
It was bad.
It was really like you would have lost in a normal year.
In a normal year, I'm in the bottom third. But this year it was enough to win it.
I picked Tennessee. We, made it to the Elite 8. Brian, did you pick Duke?
I picked Duke, yeah.
I was surprised they lost. I know you probably didn't watch the game, but
I didn't watch any of it, but I did do quite a bit of so the bulk of me figuring out March Madness is, at the beginning, I'm like, I'm always going to choose the first seed over the 16th seed because that's only the 16th seeds only beat first seed once. So, I try to do statistically, this team is more likely to beat this team, and it worked out until the end.
Well, it's tough when Connecticut, you didn't watch the game, but when Connecticut hits a buzzer beater to knock them out after trailing by a lot. And, one of the better moments, it was kind of that Christian Laettner type moment in the brackets. So Connecticut was just, meant to make me win.
I didn't think that Michigan was just going to beat the dog crap out of everybody. And that's essentially what they did until the championship game was a lot closer than I thought it'd be, honestly.
It was, and this is the first time ever that a team has gone 5 straight games winning, by 20 plus points and 90 points.
It was insane.
First time ever, and this is kind of interesting. Michigan wins first time ever with 5 transfer players as their starting 5. So we are fully in this NIL. Go and find your players, market, and
that's going to happen.
It's going to happen. This just happened to be the first time. It won't surprise me if that continues to be the narrative going forward. But 5 transfer players. It takes a lot to get 5 new people to come together to play as well as they did.
The Lady Vols have 0 players on their roster.
Yep. They're down to 1 player for next year. Their big recruit just decommitted, and it's going to be a little rough for the Lady Vols next year.
The next 4 people probably get a bunch of playtime.
Yeah.
So.
If you're looking for playtime,
this is
Tennessee is your spot right now. Yes. If you're looking for some playing time. Yeah, I don't know how Peter ended up winning, but he did. He's on a little bit of a streak.
Yeah, you won the Christmas thing.
With office-related pools, but...
Yeah, I get an hour off early somewhere for Christmas,
for
and
the
then
Christmas
I get a day
battle.
off early for this one.
It's a whole day
or
off.
a whole day off for this one. So we'll see if I actually take it. But
if you don't, we'll split it, won't we?
I'm entitled to it, I guess.
Show me the money!
March Madness is a huge money-making machine, especially for such a short period of time.
You have all of the money that's bet within just brackets
That's
and
true.
pools. You have all of now the new sports betting, which
legalized,
the
yeah.
legalized sports betting for to the game, to the quarter, to the number of points scored. So it's all of that side of it. And then you have all of the hospitality side with the restaurants and how much, good games end up leading to, increased beer sales and everything else that goes along with it. It's just a massive machine.
And what was interesting, and one of us was talking about it, it's how few of the teams are actually profitable. A lot of the money is not going to the colleges or the teams specifically for it.
Oh, no.
It's like 10 to 18 teams. And Louisville and Kentucky are 2 of them.
It's rare for a college basketball team to make money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're definitely a losing proposition from the financials, but they bring in revenue to other areas of the college. And a lot of times, schools will look at sports as the front porch of the university. So if you can get them in, you get increased enrollment. Well, how do you connect the fact that I want to go to Kentucky because they have a great basketball team to the fact that I went there as
They did
have it.
Right.
Have a great basketball team.
They did.
They
at one
were
point.
really good for a while.
So how do you connect those two things? Your enrollment increases based upon your overall success as a program. I know Syracuse just hired a new head basketball coach and was asked by a student reporter, what are you going to do to get Syracuse back into the March Madness tournament? Because he, as a student, had never experienced it in his entire career there. And stuff like that, leads to dwindling kind of, excitement about the schools. So it's interesting.
And that you brought up an interesting thing. I bet coaches make a lot of money.
Oh, for sure.
Based off of, I bet a lot of the college's expenses go to the coaches
Normally,
and now to the NILs.
Yeah. Normally the head football coach and the head basketball coach are your 2 biggest D1 salaries. And a lot of times they're the biggest state salaries. So if you look at like the University of Tennessee with Rick Barnes, I think between him and Josh Heupel for football, those are the 2 highest paid state employees.
A few moments later.
Glad
where your priorities are.
Glad we have our priorities in line, and we're getting so much from it. Sorry, it's just sad. So congratulations to the Michigan Wolverines. All that being said, incredibly dominant. That coach, see the FAU coach?
Yeah, I think
a couple years ago, something like that. Can't remember his name, but I'll probably end up having to remember it because they're probably going to be good for a while. God, I always hate seeing that happen. It's never my team. When's it?
Guess when you move to Michigan.
Boom. Roasted.
There's astronauts up in the galaxy.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
The Artemis mission.
Artemis Prime.
Artemis 2. Yeah. I was raised with sci-fi and all of that. So the ability to go to space, that just starts opening up a lot of doors, and it's going to definitely change. If it goes and continues and we start getting resources from space or colonizing or something like that, it's definitely going to mess with our jobs a whole lot.
Oh, for sure. Sub-Earth orbit is going to be the next frontier of the economy. And, missions like the Artemis 2, which are going to lead to us going back to the moon for the first time, since the Apollo missions, are just kind of that first step. We've got, the SpaceX IPO that's coming up, which is in the same world.
Yeah.
And so the space economy is going to be massive. I don't know if either one of you watched the Artemis launch, but of course we were at baseball practice. So we actually paused for a little bit so that we could watch the launch. And then I had planned it out just perfectly that it was going to be me and Ian, because Ian's my scientist. And we were going to be together doing pitching drills at the exact moment that we were going to take off. And then there was a 10-minute delay for the launch. So then I had to figure out how to keep him over there for an extra 10 minutes so that we could watch the launch together, which it worked out. It was a really cool event. And
it is really cool.
The images that are starting to come back are amazing.
And I know I should have called this for earlier. I bet you money they're going to start doing data centers up on the moon at some point.
Well,
Jeff Bezos has talked a lot about it.
It's at some point, the fact that you can get solar power without the filter, and you don't have to have
the cooling
either. And there's just so many advantageous things, because, if you put that many solar panels on Earth, you actually end up heating Earth more than, so then you have climate change problems. But if you can do it up in space and that heat just goes out into the universe, then it eventually is going to be where we're at. But data centers will be in either the moon or sub-Earth orbit. One of these days I'm going to say that right.
We don't want to be competing with data centers for our resources here either.
Right.
And I mean, that's a lot of, you'll start seeing electricity costs go up and, fuel, all the different energy inputs. We're going to be competing with these data centers. We won't be able to keep up. Our prices are just going to go up unless we do something like move it to space.
This is just so beyond me.
Well, it was your turn to be quiet. I was quiet during the sports stuff. So
no, it's just everything you guys say makes complete sense, total sense. I guess I just have a hard time wrapping my head around it and seeing, stuff like that actually happen.
What I would be interested in seeing is the differences from the first moon launch to today. Because, all the mathematics that they had to do on paper and without the technology compared to today, I bet it was totally different.
Well, the technology required to put a man on the moon the first time is housed within your iPhone.
Yeah, it's less than a cell phone.
It's less than an iPhone technologically. So it is amazing. And I think what we're struggling with is we're in that part of the exponential curve where things start getting really fast.
Yes.
And so we've seen it with AI. We're going to see it with things with space, things that seemed far off, that won't happen during my lifetime, now are that's going to happen in the next 5 years.
Absolutely.
And so it's going to be a race to keep up.
I was showing one of my clients earlier today. He'd come in around this time last year, and I showed him ChatGPT, and he thought it was pretty impressive. Didn't think about it, touch it, or anything. I showed it to him this morning, and he's like, that has grown way too much in 1 year. And I guess where I play on it every day, I hadn't realized how much it changed, but him going a year between experiencing it, it was apparently totally different.
Yeah. And now you've got all the other ones, Claudebot and Gemini. And all the different ones that are out there, and they are going to do exactly what you're talking about. They're taking up resources, and we're just at the beginning.
We probably won't even be here in 5 years. The robots will take over. It's what have we been doing this whole time since the first go round? When we put those dudes on the moon, it's what have we been doing?
The NASA got defunded a whole lot back 2004-ish, something like, I can't remember.
Give or take.
Yeah, it got defunded a whole lot, and they weren't able to do a lot. Now it's starting to become more privatized.
Right.
So, I'm not sure SpaceX really cares if the government pays them to go to the moon.
The space stuff's really cool.
It is.
Talked about all of the opportunities with the moon, talked about the Mars aspect of things, which is just bizarre to me. I think Mars, you guys were talking is kind of the end game, But I wonder if there's anything past Mars. Are they
Well,
going
yeah, there's like Neptune.
No, you dummy, you know what I'm trying to say.
Which direction are we going?
Yeah, but like let's let our minds go there for a second. Let's say Mars is reachable and we do some stuff with it. What's next?
I mean, I think the next thing is actually trying to see what could happen outside of the solar system.
Right.
You know,
I think a lot of it's going to be what resources can we extract from our solar system too. So,
well, it is going to be energy.
Yeah.
Energy is always energy. If it's not already, it's going to be our bottleneck.
right.
So it's going to be how can we start, the biggest energy source in our solar system is the sun. So how do we start mining energy from the sun in an effective way? And, like there's, like Peter was saying, once it's in space, certain aspects are a lot easier and more efficient. Getting it up in space is probably a lot harder than
Right.
creating a solar panel here.
Right. And bringing the energy back. That's
transferring it.
The transfer of energy back to planet side is something they haven't really figured out yet.
Yeah.
And so that's coming. People are working on it. People much smarter than me. So.
But no, that's the next step is figuring out energy in our solar system, I think.
I know that one thing that's kind of on everyone's mind right now is gas prices, oil prices, what's going on over in Iran, and that has huge impacts on what we do here internally. I mean, fielded a lot of phone calls, answered a lot of questions in the past little bit. So I think it's important for us to maybe speak on what's going on.
We keep pushing these things around, so who knows? I think the biggest thing is with the Strait of Hormuz being closed and oil prices being, where they're at, it's puts a headwind on everything else. And so whether that is fuel at the pump, whether that is just transportation costs to get goods to stores, to get them into our hands, everything about that creates just a headwind. So that's why the market has reacted so viscerally to it. And we've seen the Dow drop 5,000 points from its peak. We've rallied some, and we rally anytime there is thoughts that we're getting near the end of this thing, whether it's a ceasefire, whether it's a peace deal or whatever it is. So that's what the market is really hinged on these last, month or so.
The market cares about what's going to happen next.
Right.
And unfortunately, we have no idea what's going to happen next. So any new piece of information is going to cause the market to be maybe even more volatile than normal because of that situation we're in right now in Iran. And, gas prices, like Peter was saying, it hits your gas pump, but anything that has to be transported to get to you is also has to pay those gas prices, and it's going to filter through to you too.
So ultimately it's inflationary.
Everything. It's very inflationary.
That puts the Federal Reserve in a weird spot because we had thought coming into this year that we were going to get a couple rate cuts.
Yeah.
And if the economy is inflating, you don't want to add fuel to that fire by cutting rates. So it puts them in a weird spot too.
As of right now, 1 out of every 8 analysts think that they're actually going to raise interest rates by a quarter this coming time, with every 88% saying probably just leave it as is compared to dropping it like expected.
And that plays a huge part into the market expecting what's next. So the market have rallied on the thought of no war in Iran. That wasn't even on the bingo card. And then lower interest rates. The market had started off the year on a really strong kick, and we've wiped all of that out. It's not massively negative when you go back and look at it compared to even like October and November levels of last year. That's basically where we're at. So we gave up this little top, but still no fun when you look at it and say, well, since Jan 1, I'm down X% or whatever it is.
Where the market is and the accounting mechanisms that the companies use to keep their stock higher.
Right.
There's a little bit of fluff in there. Not every company's doing well. The stock market's actually propped up by a handful of companies. If we look at Kraft Heinz, they're not doing nearly as well as like a tech company right now. When you're saying that the market isn't, is just barely up, it's not just looking at that we're positive, which is good. It's where we could have been had all of this not happened.
Right.
We would be up double digits right now if the Strait of Hormuz was open, if we weren't in a war with Iran, and and the Fed was planning on lowering interest rates.
Right. I think that's an accurate prediction. And it's one of those ones that we've been here for a while. The big 7 stocks have been propping things up, and you do have a number of companies, especially in the S&P 500, that are struggling to keep up. But overall, we're trying to find what this new economy looks like, and a lot of it is still being driven by the big 7.
Yep. And growth will happen in every sort of market.
Right.
Somewhere. But luckily right now it's concentrated in the things that are driving the stock market. When that growth goes to something that's not as big of a component of the stock market, that's when the market will start dropping.
We seem to go through this. This seems to be a cycle of, the
economy is very cyclical, isn't it?
I don't know that anyone should necessarily be surprised that this popped up.
Well, we were coming into this year looking for volatility anyway. Yep. We weren't looking for this source.
Right.
But
we knew
this was going to be a volatile year, just with a lot of the underlying metrics, it being a midterm election year. There was a lot of reasons for this to be a volatile year anyway. You throw something like this on top of it, and it just exacerbates everything. So that's why it's really important to have plans in place that can survive all kind of parts of that cycle, because we don't know when a particular part of the cycle is going to hit, but we know it's coming. And so a lot of times that's where you'll see people get a little bit out over their skis when times are good and they go fully in. And then when times are bad, we have this conversation a lot, where why do I want to own fixed income? Well, so that when the market drops, we have a portion of our portfolio that's continuing to maintain value and earn income and do all that. Is it exciting to earn 4 to 5% when the market's earning 15? No, but we don't know when something like this Iranian war is going to happen. So that's why having all the different elements in a portfolio are so important.
I think that's a great way to close it out.
Yep.
Gentlemen, thank you.
Thanks,
taking the time to do this. I know that you've got a lot going on. Everybody get your taxes done. You all just look, you're like,
taxes are, we're ready for taxes to be done.
We got a week and a day.
Well, we'll let you guys get back to it. Everyone, thank you for joining us here. This is the Bullseye Podcast, brought to you by AFI Advisors. Feel free to check us out on our website, afiadvisors.com, or follow us on all of our social channels. Keep up to date with what we have going on. We'll catch you next time.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Bullseye Podcast. Do you want to sponsor the show or maybe even be a guest? Contact us at connect@afiadvisors.com to get the conversation started. Thank you for all of the continued support.